On top of my server, I install an operating system. It could be Microsoft Windows 2003. Okay, I install an operating system, and on top of this operating system, I install an application known as MSVS or GSX. I install an application. This application provides me a layer by which I can achieve virtualization. So it's kind of like this. So this will provide me a layer on top of which I can have virtual machines. The number of virtual machine is only restricted by the amount of RAM and amount of processing power that I have. Okay, so this provides me a layer on which I can have virtual machines. Now these virtual machines can again be running a Mac OS, can be running a Windows 2003, can be running Linux, a DOS, anything. This is the MSVS or GSX way of doing virtualization. As you can look at it, there are some disadvantages for this. What is the disadvantage? Anyone? What's bad about this? Why is this bad? Why is it not efficient? Where is this application sitting on top of? It's sitting on top of Windows 2003, and Windows 2003 is from Microsoft, and Microsoft has bugs. So in case this operating system fails, all of them will fail. That is the biggest issue. The second issue is performance. If this virtual machine, and any application can run on top of this virtual machine. If this application is, if a processing has to happen in this application, it has to go through Mac OS, it has to go through a VMware, it has to go through this operating system, it has to go through this operating system's drivers, then it has to go to the processor. Again the same way. So there is a lot of latency that is built in, which makes it very slow and which makes it inefficient. That is why this is really used in scenarios like my laptop. In my laptop I will not install any other thing. I will install MSVS or GSX. So it's not really for a production environment. Okay? So any questions on MSVS or GSX? No? Now we'll talk about VMware ESX. And for the rest of the day we'll actually be talking only about VSX. In ESX, I still have my old DL380 server, and I have the same old components: a processor, memory, storage, and data. But instead of installing a Windows 2003 on top of this, I install a very thin layer called ESX. Now a question to you: how big is Windows operating system? Minimal install of Windows 2003, how much size it takes? What's the size? Minimum install of Windows 2003. How big is it 500 MB, 100 MB, 1 GB, 2 GB? If I install Windows 2003 on this server, how much of hard disk space will it occupy? 2 GB? 4 GB? Let's assume very minimal install. I will not install Solitaire Minesweeper. So it will probably take 1 GB or 2 GB, right? When I install ESX, a bare metal install of ESX is less than 90 MB. That is the size of bare ESX without any essentials. Okay, so that's how small this operating system is. And on top of this ESX provides me a layer for creating my virtual machines. Again, this can be a 2003, it can be a Linux, I don't know, it can be DOS, anything that you want, Windows 2000. Okay. Now the advantage of this is, this ESX is nothing but Linux. It's a modified kernel of Linux, which makes it very robust. It will not fail. And it's not like a Microsoft which can fail. And the other advantage is performance. If this VM, there is an application here, if this VM wants to talk to these processors, it just has to pass through 2 layers as compared to 3 layers in the other MSVS or GSX scenario. So this is more efficient than MSVS or GSX. Okay. So any questions on ESX? No? Yeah? ESX? Okay, what is,
yes,
now we have talked about advantages of ESX. What is the disadvantage of ESX? Price.
Price, 价钱.
Yeah, it is, ESX is very expensive. MSVS and GSX is free. You can download it, free of cost. The ESX you have to pay. That is the biggest disadvantage right now. Okay, now good that you asked that question, because that is where Zen comes into picture. Zen is free, it's open source, it's like Linux. Now, what Zen does is, it's something like this. I still have my and I have my NICs. In Zen, I still install a very thin layer called a Zen layer, or it is also known as hypervisor. Hypervisor layer. And what Zen does is, the virtualization that Zen does is known as para virtualization. Zen does what is known as para virtualization. In para virtualization, I still have a small layer known as hypervisor, and on top of it I can have VMs. Now what is the difference between this and ESX? The difference is, these VMs that are running on top have to run on what is known as Intel VT processor or AMD Pacifica. The processor has to be a VT processor or a Pacifica processor. And what Zen basically does is, it bypasses this layer is actually bypassed, and these VMs can directly talk to the processor. That is how virtualization is achieved. The advantage of this is it's very fast compared to ESX. The performance is very good. The disadvantage of this is it's open source and it's still in development. It's not yet production ready. Those are the advantages or disadvantages. So in a corporate environment, you will still not use Zen. You will still use ESX because you have support for it. Zen will not give you support. Those are the advantages and disadvantages of all the three. So what we'll be talking about for the rest of the day is only ESX. Okay, because this